What is going on, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be doing a behavior compass analysis of a man by the name of David. So let's just jump straight into it.
I'm sorry. What is your podcast?
It's called Dopey. It's all about drugs, addiction, and dumb shit.
That's
Uh,
that's what I do.
well, it's similar.
Got to be a lot of overlap.
I've done it for 10 years. We have over 22 million downloads and have had some really cool stories.
So right off the bat, he says, we have 22 million downloads on our podcast. So that's a significance need. He wants to tell you how awesome his podcast is. And this is like somebody walking up to you and saying like, "Oh my God, yeah, I have a YouTube channel and I have 800 million subscribers." Like, okay, you could have left that out, but you wanted me to know. So he gives that significance need right off the bat. And the clothes, it's not really sticking out very much, but he does talk about, his podcast is like drugs, doing dumb shit. So I'm gonna go with deviance and necessity. So the deviance, it comes from, wanting to stick out. And then the necessity comes from, I'm only doing this because I need to. And I got the vibe from his clothes that he's a necessity need because this is this is just blue jeans, boots, blue jacket. It's nothing special, right? It's just necessity. And when they're close together on the decision map, they're like they go hand in hand most of the time, so let's continue.
And I assume you have an interesting story.
I'm just a drug addict, you know what I mean? I'm just another drug addict. And I started it with a friend of mine who I met in rehab.
Yep, and that confirms deviance. I'm just a drug addict, dude. Just a drug addict. And you know what? This kind of gives me the approval and pity vibe because when he says something like, "I'm just a drug addict. I'm just a drug addict. I'm just a drug addict, dude." He kind of wants you to say like, "Oh, dude, come on. You're not a drug addict, right?" But that's just from the first, what, 30 seconds. So let's see if we can get some more concrete
And the
details.
mission was to tell I love the Howard Stern show,
Hmm.
and Artie Lang on the Howard Stern show told the best drug stories.
Oh, I would love to get Artie in that story.
I had Artie on Dopey. We went to his
You
house.
got to connect me with Artie Lang.
He's totally not connectable. I mean, I could try. I
Yeah.
could tell him, but he
Yeah.
is not connectable. Like, I message him probably once a month for 10 years, and he writes me back probably every 6 months.
How's he doing?
I don't think he's doing that good, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, life is hard.
Last time I talked to him, he sounded pretty vacant, but I love him. He's a crazy inspiration. So 10 years ago, I got sober, and I needed.
So positive adjective is crazy. He says, "Oh, he's a crazy inspiration." I'm also mostly watching his gestural hemisphere tendency, where his eyes are looking when he's accessing the positive information. I'm leaning towards the left, but you could get more details as we go forward. So let's see.
something to do. And I had met this guy, Chris, in rehab. I had actually made a web series at Katz's called The Last Jewish Waiter about a waiter who hates waiting tables and he wants to have a talk show. So he decides to make a talk show while he waits tables. And I was still using when I put that together. And Chris was like, we should do something. And I was like, I don't know. And then I got sober and he was like, I want to do something creative with you. And I was like, how about if we do a podcast about drug stories? So we started this podcast, which was just about the worst things we had ever done with a real comedy kind of angle around drug addiction. And we did it for almost 2 years or around 2.5 years. And then he overdosed and he died.
Mm.
And I've made the show since then. I haven't missed a week in 10 years. And that's kind of what I do. I do that and I do Katz's.
And you're from New York?
Yeah, I grew up in Manhattan.
And you live there still?
I live on Long Island with my wife and my 2 daughters, but I grew up in Chelsea on 27th Street.
Tell me your story a little bit.
Sure. I was born in New York City, and to a very middle-class Jewish home. My parents were both public school teachers. I got into a really, really amazing elementary school that was probably the best elementary school in New York City. You get in when you're 4. 50 kids out of 10,000 kids that apply get in, and it seemed like I was going to have a really nice life. And somehow along the way, I fell behind in terms of school, and the school kind of asked me to leave many times, but I wouldn't leave and I stuck with it. And after I graduated high school, I got into music and I got into drugs. I got into weed at first, and I kind of just became this stoner. And I had always wanted to be in television. And in high school, I had gotten an internship at MTV, which turned into like an on air gig at MTV. And I kind of had this seed in my mind that I always wanted to do some kind of show, like a talk show. In college, I got really into music, but also really into drugs, smoking weed, doing psychedelics, playing in bands. And when I got out, I got a job in TV production and I started being a PA. I had done heroin one time in college, but it didn't really, I was like, I don't need to be about this. But I would try any drug that kind of came my way. And my mission was still to try to carve out some kind of career in television. But all I really wanted to do was smoke weed and hang out with friends and watch a lot of television too. Like I was a pretty like couch potato-y sort of guy.
Where do you think your addiction stems from? Is there something in your childhood that kind of led you, or is it genetic?
I think it's a mix of things. You know, I joke around that I blame my parents for my addiction, but nothing particular happened. You know what I mean? Maybe I was neglected
Hold on. That's weird.
for my addiction, but
That kind of
Hold on.
led you, or is it genetic?
I think it's a mix of things. You know, I joke around that I blame my parents for my addiction, but nothing
So this is an external locus of control. He's blaming the external parts of life on his misfortune, on his addiction. And no, his parents really didn't put the weed or the heroin into him. So this is an external locus of control for sure.
particular happened. You know what I mean? Maybe I was neglected. Maybe I was, I mean, how often you do so many interviews like this? How often does somebody get molested and not know it? You know what I mean? There was some weird shadowy shit when I was a kid in
Ooh.
summer camp.
So he's talking about the I'm gonna switch this actually to the right side because he's pointing to the left. That's your left? Is this his left? His left. He's pointing to his left when he's talking about these terrible things. And it was kind of hard to catch at first, but yeah, so it's gonna be right side. And I want to say kind of auditory. He's doing podcasts. He loves music. He want to be a talk show host. He's seeing life through the lens of auditoriationism. Yeah.
But I don't have any memory of being molested. I can blame my parents kind of comedically, but my parents were good parents. I think it was just a confluence of stuff. You know what I mean? My genetics, my personality, really falling in love with the feeling
Now he's talking about how it's his personality's fault that he did all this stuff. This peak external
of
locus.
euphoria, the feeling of needing to be comforted. For whatever reason, I had this need to feel okay. You know, I guess everybody has that feeling, but when I started smoking weed, I was like, I'm going to stick with this. I'm going to be about this. And when I did heroin, first time I didn't like how it felt. Second time I really did. And then my career kind of kicked in. And when my career kicked in, my heroin use kicked in. And I think I was born neurotic and nervous. And most alcoholics talk about this kind of feeling discomfort in their own skin no matter what. And mine really kicked in around then. And I found that heroin and all these substances made me feel comfortable. It made me not care. And I got this job producing a TV show where I was the host of the TV show and I was interviewing bands. And I think I was nervous. I think it was a lot of pressure. And I was smoking weed every day. And then I was doing heroin.
All right, so we'll cut it there to kind of stay true to Chase Hughes' 6-minute X-ray. So we're missing a few things. What I picked up overall, the overarching theme is he values experiences. His end goal in life is to get experiences, right? He talks about how he does all these drugs, and when you're doing a drug, you're getting an experience. And his main goal of life was to get into the radio show, I think it was with MTV, and that is an experience. Maybe we could put growth, but mostly experiences because his whole life has let him down. The rabbit hole of drugs. So he values experiences very highly. And then I also kind of want to put pity a little bit. So his whole the vibe that he gives off is that when he says something, he wants you to kind of be like, "Oh no, it's not that way, you know. You're okay, man. Just just let up a little bit." Basically, like he'll say something, "Oh my God, like I'm just a drug addict, dude. I'm just a drug addict." He's like, "Dude, no, you're not. Come on." So he kind of gives throws out bait in these conversations, and this gives off peptides when you fulfill his bait, when you take his bait. And it's kind of like a girl that's like, "Oh my God, I'm so fat," and then you're like, "Stacy, no, you're you're not fat. Come on." And that's like unlocks neuropeptides in their brain and basically just reinforces the behavior. And we weren't able to get left or right hand. I mean, he's mostly doing his gestures with his right hand, but that's just a guess, to be honest. And another thing, this visual auditory kinesthetic, we could make a case for him also being kinesthetic because he when he talks about the drugs, he talks about feeling comfortable and feeling good and just feeling relaxed with emphasis on feel. It's also kind of hard to describe drugs with, oh, it sounded so he could say something like it sounded good to me or but, that's a stretch. A case could be made, so we'll just put it just in case. So this is the full spectrum. If we listen to the whole interview, we could make some more concrete examples to really drill down. But this is a good compass for 6 minutes, right? We know what he does, what his main values in life are, why he makes the decisions he makes, and we did it all in 6 minutes. So we basically know more about him than his friends and family do that I've known his whole life. Like, for example, significance, we know his greatest fear now. We know that it is being seen as insignificant, being passed over. And yeah, this is amazing. So if you have any agreements or disagreements, please let me know in the comments below. This was a lot of fun, and yeah, thank you guys.